Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Sodanandana Braja Janarandana Sodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So thank you all for having. Well, it's not like you all invited me, but thank you for accepting me, welcoming me so nicely. Thank you, Bruce, for accompanying. Sorry to the harmonium player for that. 5 different keys, I think I did. Yeah, it was so nice coming here with His Holiness Dave Amrita Maharaj, and it was such a nice, heartwarming welcome that you guys gave him. It really blew me away. The flowers and all that. So it's really touching to see that. So then, when I was asked to come, I felt very unqualified, but somehow or other, Prabhu was very good at convincing me to come, so he left me no option. I tried all the excuses. Okay, so today we'll be reading from the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone can get their mobile Bhagavad Gitas if they have them. Today we'll be reading from chapter 2, verse 13. 14. Kunteya
Matra sparsastu Kunteya
Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada
Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada
Kama Payino Nitya
Kama Payino Nitya
Samstitikshva Sabharata.
Samstitikshva Bharata.
Translation. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Sayana-Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Translation or purport. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climactic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principles of the Kshatriyas. And although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kuntiya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. Shri ki. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Yananjana Salakaya Shakshur Anmalita Mera Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapita Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabal Chagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Padakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhan Sutire Pranamami Hare Hare Anchakalpa Tubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande. Wow, that was powerful. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. I remember I heard this in Atlanta. This prayer. There was a members little getaway retreat in some park. So they invited all the congregation and all the temple devotees. So we were out in the forest, and then they sang these prayers, and it was such a mystical thing. So I was sold at that point. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Okay, returning to our verse for the day. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception of sign and parta, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So I thought I would talk a little on this word toleration. So one, because it's a good skill to have, and two, because maybe you'll be able to tolerate this class. This is a lesson and a test all in one. So this purport is, that Prabhupada's making this point. He's giving the example, right? Tolerate happiness and distress, continue doing your duty. So I remember when I first joined the temple in Atlanta, serving under this Prabhupada disciple, and he told me first about cold showers. I was shocked, saying, oh yeah, it's good to take cold showers, good for spiritual life. So this is and I was like thinking maybe he was just mad at me or something. And then he showed me this purport here. What do you say? According to Vedic injunctions, one has to take bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh. It is very cold at that time, but in spite that, a man who abides by religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. So then I was like, okay, what to do, So anyways, I'm still on the cold water program, luckily, by His mercy. So one point that I wanted, it was nice from the purport here. One has to execute his duty in spite of climactic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. Okay, sorry, that's the wrong sentence. Here's the sentence I was talking about. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. Because by knowledge and devotion only, one can liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. So one has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. So we all have a certain duty in life. Like imagine the Mridanga players just decided to stop playing, right? That wouldn't have been very fun for anyone. Everyone has a particular duty. And it's a nice reminder here that Prabhupada's saying, by engaging in this duty, by holding fast to that, whatever is prescribed to your current status of life, this actually will bring you to the platform of knowledge. And by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya. So, yeah, for example, I'm the temple commander. I'm the temple commander in Brooklyn. And even I was trying to do some last minute preparations for this class. And so, I go downstairs to get something, and all of a sudden, Prabhu, the kitchen is clogged up. And I just thinking the whole time, oh my God, I gotta, get ready for this class. And all of a sudden, okay, the kitchen's clogged up. And then this lady comes, the head pujari comes up, okay, we need someone to cook for the next few days, the evening offerings. And then, what else happened? So many. Then someone needs the key to get into this room. And all the while I'm just thinking, oh my God, okay, I just got to get away and really work on this class. But anyways, this is my duty that's somehow or other been prescribed to me. So in the face of these things, the tendency is to run away, right? What's the name of the deities? So many times we're in this situation, right? Okay, we have a job to perform, a duty we're in. But it's tough. We just want to run away from it. As the Bhagavad Gita says, every endeavor is actually covered by some fault. But Prabhupada's saying here, actually, by sticking to your religious principles, then you get knowledge. By knowledge and devotion, one gets free from the clutches of Maya. So there's a nice example of this. I'm hesitant to bring up these pastimes in front of people of Indian descent because you guys know them so well. But the example of Lakshman, right? So look, fast forward a little in the Ramayana. So Lakshman is there with Sita, right? And Ram tells Lakshman, look after Sita, and stay within this ring here, and you'll be protected. So, and Sita was there, right? Yeah, Sita. So it was Sita and Lakshman in the ring, yeah? No? Some say no, some say yeah. Oh, we'll go with yeah for now. Yeah. So they're there, and so Ram gives them, okay, this is your duty, Lakshman. You stay here, and as long as you stay in this ring, you're protected. But then, what happens? Then when they're in this ring, they hear the cries out in the forest, right? And Sita says, "Oh yeah, you should go. You should go." Did you think it was Ram that was crying? Yeah, you should go save Ram. And Lakshman says, "No, I've been told to stay here, so this is what I'm going to do." And then Sita just out of nowhere, throws a curveball into the mix, and she says, "I see your tricks. You actually you want to enjoy me." And this was like devastating for Lakshman to hear. But she was forceful. She was saying, "No, actually, you just want to stay in here and enjoy me. Your brother's in danger, and you're not trying to save him. What kind of brother are you?" So what did Lakshman do? He left the ring. Then what happened? Well, then this whole, then Ravana comes, dressed like me. I'm kind of like Ravana, dressed as a monkey. And yeah, he takes Sita away, and then all this disaster happens. So how could this have been avoided? Lakshman could have performed his duty. So we can see Sita was pressing him, right? So hard, she really got to the core of his heart. Here's such a chaste brother. The worst thing he could do is try to enjoy something of his brother Ram, who he had so much care and devotion towards. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was right there, and he's being told, fight against your family members. So sometimes we're put in these tried situations, and what's the quality that Lakshman could have exhibited to prevent this whole dramatic event known as the Ramayana? Toleration, right? If he would have tolerated and said, my dear Sita, my dear Sita, this is my duty. Please forgive me. Or whatever he would have said. It probably would have sounded a lot nicer than that. But he should have tolerated. So we hear this mad elephant, right? So an analogy is given. Our cultivation of devotional service is like growing a plant. Do we have any gardeners here? No. Yeah, New York, New Jersey, probably. Huh? You do? Something. You go something, yeah. So we put up. So first, it said we get the seed of devotion from the spiritual master. By the mercy of Krishna, one meets a guru, and then by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the seed is planted, right? So the seed of devotion. And then how do we? Then by the process of devotional service, we water the seed, and our plant grows up. But it's explained, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, there's a mad elephant offense. So imagine, right? since there's maybe only a few expert gardeners here, imagine you take a course on gardening, and then you finally have this nice garden, and you're so proud of it. You're gonna grow some nice tomatoes to offer to Radha Shyamasundar on Sunday, and then somehow a mad elephant. I don't know. Maybe there's a crash on the highway and an elephant jumps out, and then he just comes right to your forest, right to your garden, and smashes all this garden that you put so much hard work into. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that committing Vaishnava aparadha is like this. And actually the same analogy of letting a mad elephant go in our garden, that can be applied to so many situations, right? For example, a murderer. For one to be in prison for the rest of his life, okay, you have a life sentence. Sometimes they give 100, 200 years or something. I guess they're like, didn't catch up from the last yuga maybe. Yeah, so you get a 200-year sentence. So you get a 200-year sentence, and how long did it take you to get that 200-year sentence? A split, maybe 2 seconds. You became agitated, you pulled out your weapon of choice, and you did something very, very bad. You killed someone. You killed someone, and now you're suffering the rest of your life, and many lives. Maybe that's your next life also. You have to come back as a rat or something in the prison. That's why they give 200-year sentence. So many examples like this, right? Simply this quality of toleration can save one from so much anguish. So I was at it was nice coming here last time also, because I recognized so many of these devotees here. It was like a 5-month reunion of our leadership conference. So many of the devotees here, we were all in the leadership conference in New Jersey. So we'll always share that special moment together. So what's considered one of the best temple presidents in the U.S., Suvas Prabhu. Anyone heard of him? Suvas Prabhu? L.A., New Dwarka. He's been there so many years. So he gives one advice on management. He said, never make a decision when you're in an angry mood. Right? You're in an angry mood, and then you decide to make some irrational decision. They've done studies where, I think we hear this in the Shastra that anger actually creates poison. You ever heard that? Yeah, anger actually creates poison in the body. So they did. Sachinanda Maharaj tells about this study they did. They made someone angry, and then they took some of his saliva, and that saliva was actually able to kill some little small animal. Yeah. So it's a dangerous thing. This to become angry is a very dangerous thing. But what can we? We're living in. Anyone here live in New York? Anyways, New York, New Jersey. I'm sure they're not that different. Do people across the river? Is that the stigma that they're like a lot more wild and intense, and here is kind of like the other. What is that? What is that river that separates the spiritual and material world? No. I'm talking about the spiritual and material world. There's like a Viraj River. Yeah. So is that what people think when they live in New Jersey? That's like the Viraj River, the Hudson. Anyways, it can't be that much different here. It's still. So in a place like New York or New Jersey, how much toleration is needed, right? Jeez. Just going down the street. Yeah, it's intense. The amount of sense gratification. I mean, I'm sure everyone, any trip on the subway is like, you could tell a story after. Every time when somebody comes to visit New York, they always have some crazy story from the subway. So I mean, and they're not used to it, so it's a little crazy for them. But we're just used to it. So it's agitating. The whole material world is just pressing us. At every moment we're being pushed. Enjoy this. Defeat him. Do this. Don't do that. But what if one can actually learn this quality of tolerance? So there's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Saknoti taiva yasuram praksriya vimokshana kama koda vigam sayuktaha sasuki naraha. So Vaisheshika Guru says, suki nara. It's sounds like a Japanese word. So suki nara means, any Sanskrit experts here?
Happy.
Suki, yeah. So happy man. So the verse says, one who can tolerate the urges of the material senses, and tolerate the urges of anger, he can be happy even in this world. So that's the difference, right? On one side we have a Goswami. Goswami means one who can control the senses. Then a Godas is one who he's just ultimately controlled by the senses, right? Like we see on the other end of the spectrum, we see there's the homeless guy walking the New York streets, right? He's just he's just fully under the control of his stimulus that comes up. He walks by a trash can, he sees a piece of pizza, just eats it. This is like animalistic. There's no toleration at all. I'll tell one quick funny story. I was in New York, and New York, it's in Brooklyn, so there's all sorts of people walking past. And one time we finished Artik, and I came out, and this guy was saying, "Oh, someone stole my shoes." And they started describing the person who stole the shoes, and I immediately knew, oh God, I know this lady. She seems like she's on drugs because she'll fall asleep standing up. And one of the other brahmacharis, he always wants to take the dog from her. He thinks he can be a better owner. So I immediately knew from the descriptions, okay, it's this lady. So I just started running down the street because I figured, okay, she's probably going towards the station. So I start running, and I see her, and try to be polite. I see she has her shoes. So I say, did you take those shoes? She said, no, I didn't take his shoes. I was like, because they looked a little bigger also. I was pretty sure, I think she definitely took the shoes. So anyway, she gave them up without too much hassle. So I got them, and I ran back, and I was like, yeah, look at me, I got the shoes. Everyone's gonna be glorified. And then I got back to the temple. I was like, here you go, Prabhu, here are your shoes. He's like, Prabhu, those aren't my shoes. I was like, oh my God. What are people gonna think? Some monk just comes up. There's this poor lady, and he just steals her shoes. So anyways, this crazy stuff happens. So now she's just walking around all night with no shoes, thanks to me trying to be so righteous. So Prabhupada says, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. Right? So how many times do we get in this state of mind where we're just we seem to get controlled by our senses, right? Like we're not centered, we're not conscious of our activities. So actually, as one is in the lower modes, that's what this is characterized as. One in the mode of passion, he's very eager to attain material things. Sometimes without even thinking, okay, what's the use of obtaining this in the first place? He's driven, go get it. And one of the mode ignorance, they're prone to laziness and procrastination, like this. But then the Brahmana, to explain, the Brahmana, he's controlled, he's peaceful, he has knowledge of the scriptures. So he's controlled. He's able to tolerate. I said one in the mode of goodness, they can see things as they are. So a sensory object comes in. Okay, there's pizza. It looks good, but it's a Ekadasi, so I probably should stay away. So they can make there's that separation. There's the sense object, there's me, and there's the consequence. He can think of this. People in the lower modes, forget about it. I mean, let's speak of just breaking a Ekadasi. If they'll walk by a trash can, if they see a appetizing looking pizza, they'll just dig right in. And then they might have me come steal their shoes off there. So I was doing a little research. How many thoughts, anyone have any idea how many thoughts we have per day, per minute, how many thoughts do you guys think that we have? 1,000 thoughts per minute. Actually, maybe I shouldn't ask like this. Okay, well, 1 minute, 60 seconds, right? So there's humans, they experience in a whole day somewhere between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts. Per hour, that's 2,100 thoughts, roughly. And then that comes per minute, to put it in more perspective, 35 thoughts per minute. Yeah, it's intense, right? 35 different, it's just 1 minute. That means every 2 seconds, different thought. So especially the devotees, right, during japa, probably 108 thoughts per minute. So 35 thoughts. And what to speak of, we're driving down the street, many of us work outside, right? I'm fortunate, I live in the temple, so I traveled for 7 years on the road, so you see billboards. The whole material world is just trying to get you to enjoy it. So naturally, if we don't fill our mind with Krishna conscious thoughts, then these 35 thoughts will be how to enjoy, what to enjoy, where to enjoy, why to enjoy. So how important it is, right, to develop this quality of toleration. By the way, speaking of toleration, how much longer is the class go for? Huh?
7:15, 20.
7:15, 20. Okay, I'll wrap it up. So there's this nice verse. Tate nukampam shishimik samaniya.
Vitvag Vapurvi Vidata Namaste Sadeva Dayavatasa.
I was hoping there'd be someone here who would know that verse, or else I would have been in trouble. Yeah, so this verse says, anyone know the translation? Besides Prabhu? What? It's like the toleration Bhagavatam verse. So it says, one who can tolerate whatever reactions are given due to his past karma, all the while offering his obeisances and prayers to Krishna, attains liberation as his rightful claim. So it's interesting, in this purport, Prabhupada says that for a devotee, because we need some, I'm trying to just put things in perspective, how one can better equip oneself to tolerate. So this is so nice, this point Prabhupada makes. In the purport he says that actually for a surrendered devotee, their karma is different. Krishna gives one a certain reaction in order to rectify that devotee's enjoying tendency. So in other words, the whole material world is set up for us to rectify, be rectified and attain our position as servants of Krishna. So what Krishna will actually do is he'll put one in a life situation so that one will see how actually pointless this sense gratification is. So this can be our mentality. Like, anyone seen this? There's any Kung Fu movie fans in here? There's something like Chamber 36. Someone was just telling me about it.
Shaolin.
What is it?
Chamber 36. I think I watched it. Yeah.
You watched it, okay.
A long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah. Before devotional service, right? Before we came in. So someone was just saying, apparently there's these different chambers, and this Kung Fu guy would go through them. And in one chamber, he would learn the lesson of he would have to carry some water pots, so he learned balance. And then in another chamber, he would, learn how to do some certain punch. In another chamber, he would learn, self-control. And then I guess at the end, he was a perfect Kung Fu master. So this is actually like the life of a devotee. So in that same Tatenu Kampam purport, Prabhupada says, just as one has to be fire to approach the sun planet, similarly one has to be pure to approach the Supreme Pure, Krishna. So because of this, Krishna puts us in these different situations in order to rectify our enjoying mentality. So as the points Prabhupada's making in this purport, this is devotee's mentality when he's suffering. He's thinking, okay, Krishna, you put me in this situation in order to become purified. Therefore, he can actually be satisfied. There's this nice verse, prasade sarva dukkhanam. So one who obtains this quality of satisfaction, he can tolerate the threefold miseries. So let's face it, miseries are always happening, right? No matter what. Like Prabhupada says in one purport, that as long as one has a material body, material desires will be there. Material suffering will be there. But by becoming prasade sarva dukkhanam, by being satisfied, then one can actually no problem. He can tolerate these material pains, and his intelligence can be well established. So it's interesting. Obviously, the other verse we think of, right, when we think of toleration, Trinarapi tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Translation. Any translators? One who can. Krishna.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in the humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the straight. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others.
Wow. In such a state of mind, you can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So it's an interesting thing. By becoming tolerant, one can chant the holy name. And by chanting the holy name, one can actually be more tolerant. So our whole process is actually, okay, say you're not tolerant. Say, most of us aren't. But how can we develop this tolerance? Well, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even though one might commit the offenses, the 10 offenses against the holy name, the way to rectify them is by continued chanting. So by this chanting, we can become satisfied, we can become tolerant, and we can tolerate the onslaughts of this material world. So I hope that I've equipped everyone with some weaponry to kind of tolerate this material world a little more. And another point, just based on this last point is, most of us work, right? So most of us are dealing with the material energy for so many hours in a day. Just on the drive, on whatever, at work, unless you somehow work with all devotees, you're dealing with a lot of the material energy. But one has to have a strong program of taking in transcendental sound vibration. Vaisheshika was just making the point. When we take in transcendental sound vibration, then actually our vibration increases. Anyone ever feel like their vibration is just like poison to people's ears? Like everything you say just it's like, why? Everything I say just seems to agitate people. So it said by taking in Vaisheshika was making this point. By taking in transcendental sound vibration, one's own vibration actually becomes more pleasant. And by taking in transcendental sound vibration, one becomes satisfied. Our intelligence is properly situated so we can see things as they are. And we can avoid letting the mad elephant into our lives. And we can avoid the possibility of just acting on our base nature and destroying all that we worked so hard for. So, without this toleration, one can end up in jail, prison, dead. It's obviously an important trait to develop. So I'll end there if anyone has any questions, comments.
Hare Krishna. About tolerance, should we make a distinction how much we should tolerate, or how do we make that distinction how much we should tolerate?
I mean, in the sense of, like sometimes we have to act, right? Sometimes, yeah. Like sometimes we need change in our lives. So maybe you can tolerate the wrong thing, right? Or you can be tolerating, but you shouldn't be tolerating. Oh, that's it. I've actually thought of that recently. I mean, one way you can look at it is, that's a good question, by the way. And I don't feel like I have such a good answer, but well, I mean, for a devotee's life, a devotee bases his life on, okay, how much does each aspect of my life, how much is it affecting my absorption in Krishna consciousness? So by this standard, one can see, okay, maybe I shouldn't tolerate the friendship with this coworker, because instead of talking to him and trying to be friends with him, I could be reading the Bhagavatam. So I've thought of this question recently, and I'd like to hear if anyone has any nice insight on this, because it's a good question. I mean, sometimes we have to make changes in our life, so how to know when to tolerate and when it's actually a necessary change.
That's the same also kind of similar situation where Lakshman had to go through. So actually he was tolerating, and we see that when it really pained and pointed at chastity, the question that Sita Maharani explained, that you were really trying to enjoy me, and this whole plan coming behind us, like all the way from Ayodhya, traveling with us, behind your back, it was your plan that some way either you want to kill or something will happen to Ram, and you are going to enjoy. But even in the instincts of his mind, that thought was not even present. So when there is some kind of acquisitions that is like so much like painful that it's difficult to tolerate. Right? I think Lakshman also went through the situation that he could not take it. So in our life also actually is basically sometimes happens like that, right? The pain of acquisitions, like something you have not done, and it's not like simple thing, but it's really painful. That is really disheartening. Like it points on a character, like something that defines a character that becomes more painful. So those kind of tolerance becomes very, very hard.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, it's best to always tolerate like this, because, I was quoting that temple president, right? He said, "No, when you're in a bad state of mind, don't make any, big decisions." So, Prabhupada is interesting because he was able to exhibit anger, like he would chastise some devotee, and then the next minute, he totally equipoised. So he was using that anger as a tool, but it wasn't. He wasn't overtaken by that anger. It was like it was calculated anger, but best, best if you're in that, if that anger starts rushing through you, best to just go chant some japa in the corner. Just don't.
I like your comment, like when you say something that is really. If it starts affecting your Krishna consciousness, you think that this is really will affect my Krishna consciousness, then you shouldn't go beyond that tolerance.
Yeah.
So that's I think markup for where you have to keep up the limit of your tolerance.
Yeah. Yeah. If a devotee's blasphemed, you should walk away, defeat him, or cut out his tongue, or cut out the blasphemer's tongue. So that's. Yeah, that's something you shouldn't tolerate. But thank you, Bruno. That's a nice question. You have some insight on that? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Okay, so I see more people are coming.
Questions?
I see more people just came in, so it must be time. Must be that time of day for prasadam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dasya-Prema Prabhu. It was wonderful insight. Please